Hello and welcome once again. I'm Amy. It has been raining today and I have been out in it on my Harley Davidson Street 500. So jump on board and join me for a bit of an adventure. This is the bike I will be riding, all wet. Excited to have you join me. Okay, well, it is officially winter here in the southern part of Western Australia. It's been raining non-stop for, well, it was overnight for about 14 hours, downpouring. There's a little bit of a window-ish now. I've got a 2-hour ride ahead of me, so we'll see how it goes. Just giving all the other cars a lot of distance. Not expecting the worst of people, but prepared for the worst of people. Perhaps it's not the same in places where it rains all the time, but people get pretty spun out here when it's raining. Using my gears and my back brake to slow down a lot more than the front brake, just to be safe. Staying off the white lines because they get slippery when they're wet. Just safely putting along at 30 kilometers an hour. Okay, I don't know what it's like in the camera, but for me, visibility is very, very poor. We might be stuck behind a super duper duper oversized truck. One of those ones that's going so slow it's pretty much not moving. We could scoot to the front, which I think I will do. my 2-hour ride is very quickly turning into a 2.5-hour ride, but that's okay. Better to be safe than fast. I really don't mind riding in the rain. I think we tend to expect that it's going to be really scary, really dangerous, really wet. And I mean, like, let's be real, it is all those things, but it's not as scary or as dangerous or as wet if you're geared up properly as you think it's going to be. You have to be hyper vigilant. You have to be really onto it, even more than usual, because you should always be hyper vigilant on a bike. You should always be really onto it. You have to be careful, but if you're careful, it's alright. You get used to riding in low visibility. You get used to how your bike handles or needs to be handled when it's wet. I'd always rather look like a bit of an idiot in the wet than and be safe than look really cool and be unsafe. Woo. If you've ever experienced the zen of riding a motorcycle, you will understand what I mean when I say that it requires a presence of body, of mind, and of emotion. If you're doing it gracefully and if you're actually in control of the situation. People think that you gain control of the situation, and I'm applying this to riding a motorcycle but also to life in general. People believe that the way to be in control of a situation is to wrestle with it, is to wrangle it into submission, is to put it into a chokehold and micromanage every iota of its movement and its unfoldment. But that ain't the way to do it. It certainly is not the way to ride a motorcycle. And you'll see people when they start out, when they first start riding motorcycles, that's what they want to do. They want to wrestle with it. They want to wrangle it into submission. They want to make sure that they have personal second by second and iota by iota management and control over everything that's happening. It's very rigid, it's very forced, it's very thought about, not considered, thought about, as in coming from the mind. And there's all sorts of emotion that they bring to the experience. So there's physical rigidity, there's mental presumption and rigidity, and there's emotional rigidity. Usually that emotional rigidity is resulting from trying to contain or manage certain degrees or levels of fear that the individual is experiencing, because people fear being out of control. They fear things that are unknown. So again, you can apply this to all aspects of life. You can apply it to motorcycle riding. Eventually there comes a time when you realize that you've actually got to let go a little bit. And I don't mean space off and be passive and not involved and present in the experience. I mean, you've got to release yourself physically. Stop gripping so hard. Stop trying to jolt the motorcycle around. And it's the same in life. Stop gripping yourself so hard. Stop trying to force everything and make everything be a certain way. Let your body relax. Let it open. You've got to have loose, soft arms to ride a motorcycle. Holding with the hands, but loose, soft arms. The body needs to be relaxed because it needs to be ready to respond, and it needs to be experiencing as little fear as possible so that it can actually respond appropriately. If you tense up around the motorcycle, you're not going to have a good time. You're going to be in pain, and the motorcycle isn't going to be able to ride the way that it's meant to ride. It's a whole body experience. You got to be placing yourself correctly. You've got to be leaning into it, leaning with it, allowing the motorcycle to go where you're just gently guiding it to go. And then if you need to do a quick maneuver, you're ready for it because there's a certain presence and awareness in your body. And again, this is the way to be doing life. Relax, loosen your body, stop punishing yourself, stop tensing up around yourself and around your life and trying to smash through things. There's a certain grace, a certain ease, a certain dance that life wants to suck us into, the way a motorcycle wants to draw us into, that's available to us. We're meant to release ourselves into it, flow with it, dance with it. And it's the same emotionally. If you come at a motorcycle with fear, though it's not intelligent in and of itself, the way that you then try to ride the motorcycle or you engage with the motorcycle is from that place of fear. So again, it's going to be rigid, it's going to be stuffy, it's going to be stuck. You're going to be expecting things that aren't even there, but you're expecting them so intensely that they actually end up manifesting. You're scared of every honky nut, every bump, every corner, every car, and you're jolty reacting to it as though it's a life or death situation. Then the ride isn't going to be smooth. In fact, it's going to be dangerous, and you're probably going to cause an accident for yourself. You're going to cause those things to become dangerous. You're going to cause a bump in the road that you could have just released yourself and released the bike into to become something that tips you off the bike. And we do this with life and with situations all the time. We anticipate and we expect the worst, but in our anticipation and our expectation, we take something that's relatively harmless or could be relatively harmless, and we turn it into the big danger that we expected it to be by the way that we respond and we react to it. So we turn it into a drama. We turn it into something dangerous. We turn it into something painful or serious. But if we just allow ourselves emotionally to release, the same way that you can release your body, you release yourself emotionally and you experience a presence of emotion, then you'll find that you're able to be more present with yourself emotionally and more present with your emotions as well. So then you can kind of choose, if fear's coming up, is that fear actually relevant? Is this based on the situation that I'm actually presently experiencing? If it's not, then you just release some more and you let it go and you trust. And then you can trust your emotions. If your emotions are calm in that way, you're present with your emotions in that way, you're in command of your emotions in that way, then if something gets a little spiky radar up, then you know that it's probably significant and you should do something about it. So if you do experience fear, because you know that you've trained yourself not to respond irresponsibly with fear to situations that don't necessitate a fear response, then you know that you can trust the fear that you're experiencing. Maybe there is someone falling asleep in a car next to you. Maybe someone in a vehicle doesn't see you. Maybe that bump in the road really needs to be maneuvered around quickly because it is bigger than it looks from the outside. But you can't trust your emotions. You can't be guided by your emotions if they're out of control or if you're in a constant, tight state of fear. So you've got to be present in body, present in mind, released in body, released in emotion, released in body and released in emotion. And then yes, indeed, we need to be present and released in mind as well. Yes, we can think ourselves into anything. We can use our minds to convince ourselves of literally anything. Anyone can. You can talk yourself into anything. So if you don't have presence of mind, you could be convincing yourself of all sorts of things that aren't actually real or true or happening. And this goes hand in hand with the emotions, which then go hand in hand with presence in body. Because your physical body responds to your emotions, and your emotions respond to your mental activity. They respond to what's happening in your mind. So the same way that you can release your body, you must learn to release your emotions, and you must learn to release your mind, an openness and an expansiveness of mind. So you're present with what is actually happening. You're responding to what is happening. There's a certain level of stillness, quiet, and serenity in your mind that allows you to perceive the world how it really is, allows you to assess situations as they actually are, as they're happening. And when you can do that, you experience a certain state of Zen, a Zen that requires presence of body, emotion, and mind. And when you've got that, you're having a good ride. When you've got that presence in life, you're having a good, graceful, smooth life where you're fully alive, you're fully present, you're fully feeling, you're fully experiencing and partaking of life as it's actually happening, not as it is imagined or as it is anticipated or expected, but as it actually is. And when you experience life in that way, you are just so much more alive in every way. Life is so much more joyful. It's so much more peaceful. But it's also so much more intense, but in a really fulfilling and satisfying way. The way that a really good Zen motorcycle ride is really intense, but also deeply peaceful and restorative and graceful. You just know how to respond. You know what to do. You know how to be. You know how or when it is appropriate to anticipate and what it is that you're anticipating. You're responding to life rather than reacting. And that's how you need to be riding your motorcycle as well. You're responding rather than reacting. You're present with what actually is instead of anticipating or expecting or anxiously contorting yourself around illusions that you've created in your body, mind, and emotion experience. So if you can understand or you can feel or you have felt previously that state that I'm talking about and that I'm describing, I just want to challenge you to try living your life from that space. Try being in that space, in that state, in as many moments as possible, and just see what happens. See how your life changes. See if it feels different. I love doing life from that space. It's a state of being rather than a state of doing. And then the activity of life is just naturally birthed out of that state of being that you find yourself always in. Much more rich, much more honest, much more authentic, much more real. So for any of you who have been with me from the beginning, that very first ride that I did on my Harley, you You might notice how much the landscape has changed. It was all scorched earth and death here just a month ago, really. Now look at it. Lush, green, alive. It rained a lot, but I stayed relatively dry. Couldn't see much, but stayed relatively safe. No, absolutely safe. I'm snotty, I have numb fingers. I'm looking forward to a nice hot cup of tea. But it's been a good ride. Presence of body, mind, emotion allows for presence of spirit and inner peace. So thanks for joining me again. Keep doing life different. Keep being a rebel. I'll see you next time.